Welcome back to the Tailosive Tech Podcast, everybody. We do read the comments. We've gotten rid of Randy, finally. And, Mike, I must say, StarLink has come a long way. I've kind of forgotten that you're still talking to me via StarLink. There's been, like, 0 interruptions while we've been on this call.
At least with the call, that's great. In terms of uploading stuff, whether it's onto YouTube or to you for editing, it still reminds me that I've got StarLink because it takes an hour to upload less than a gig.
Oh, that speed hasn't updated at all?
Not as much. It has, I did some speed tests recently, and it has gone from, it was at 40 megabits per second download for a while. It's now gone up to about 100 on average, which is great. That's been a great improvement compared to what it was in the past. But even still, there's still that issue. I've been kind of playing around with where I put the Wi-Fi router around the house, because I used to have it kind of in the center, but then I kind of have put it on one end of the house, on the other, just trying to see what that coverage looks like, even though that there is like a nice little built-in coverage map with the app where like you can see where it's basically pinging at every location of your house. Like, is it a good signal or a bad signal? Is it great or bad and all that? And again, always mixed results wherever you put it, because different walls that the signal basically has to go through or around can easily just make it a bad day. But otherwise, Starlink's been great. I've been enjoying it.
Good.
Thoroughly.
Does it feel stable now compared to earlier?
It feels very... Oh, I mean, you said that I haven't dropped it all on this call, and we recorded Evie before this, and you said that nothing went on there. So I'd say, it's been pretty stable, at least for consuming content, whether it's watching YouTube or Ted Lasso on Apple TV or anything else. It's been very stable and all that. I need to pick a bone with you on Ted Lasso at some point, whether it's on here or on
we'll do a full
podcast or something like that. I'm gonna...
No, it'll be the tech podcast. This is Apple News, technically.
Right.
New Ted Lasso.
But basically, it's been stable and great. I've loved it. My rectangular Dishy McFlatface and all that. It makes me very content with global internet becoming a thing eventually, where like you'll be able to go anywhere and not have an issue and have decently good speeds, barring the fact that you may have to deal with trees. But I guess the answer to that is put the dish on top of the tree and call it a day or something like that. Except then you have to crawl up a tree. But anyways, it's been great.
Yeah. Good. I'm curious how it's performing, because I've just recently found out that on my trip, where I'll be thousands of miles away, the place I'm staying just recently got StarLink. But they haven't set it up yet. I'm going to get to unbox it and set it up, and we're going to see how it does. It's a surprise. You'll find out where later. But that should be a positive on how much I can upload or how much content I can make while I'm away from home. I can get some work done and try out StarLink again for a couple weeks, probably.
Nice.
So I'll be away from T-Mobile, and we'll see how... I don't know if you've done live streaming with it recently, but I'm very curious to see how it performs. Just doing a public live stream via StarLink might be kind of a fun benchmark. Like, can we keep it afloat, or will it die?
Welcome back to the family. We've missed you. We welcome you with open arms and all that as an advocate. I would say we can always test something, whether like we want to try doing a Tailosive Tech or Tailosive EV live with StarLink on my end and have a call with you or whatever. We could try that or something like that.
That's true.
We could always try that before the trip as well, just to make sure everything looks good on your end. But also, you don't know what the coverage is going to be like wherever you're going.
It could be totally different.
It could be,
because you're in a fairly populated area where probably a lot of people have access to StarLink, so that might congest your cell compared to where I'm going. I don't think it's as densely populated, so who knows? It could be a totally different.
You could have,
I know the pricing
300 megabits, or you can have 10 megabits. We don't know.
It's not the Starlink they got was not paid in US dollars, so
okay, that's neat.
It'll be a different pricing structure to analyze and compare to the internet options there and stuff. So I'm excited. I think it'll be kind of a fun experiment.
It seems like everywhere else that isn't the US, they have like some markdown on the hardware or the monthly cost for the
Yes,
connection
you're
for
right.
the Starlinks, which I'm very jealous of because it's like, wow, I'd like to get in on that bit of action in terms of paying less per
Yeah,
month or just paying for the hardware less than what I have. But I guess
right.
that's kind of mute at this point since I've been using it for, has it been 2 years? No, it hasn't been 2 years. Has it?
Oh,
Dear Lord,
I'm
what
gonna be sad if it is.
if it's, when
I
did we
need to look
unbox it?
up.
Because we can
Yeah, we
look up
did an
when we're
unboxing,
unboxing.
but yeah. Speaking of unboxings, I might be doing one here shortly.
Oh yeah, it sounds like you've had a little bit of headache with the iPad not arriving on time for reviewing uh what's it called?
It's like
Final Cut.
the
My goodness, I don't
universe
know why I
telling.
forgot. It's that forgettable. But Final
Yeah,
Cut on
I watched
iPad?
a lot of reviews on the day it launched, but I ordered the iPad with the expected delivery date of March 17th to sorry, not March, May 17th to May 21st because they said that it would Final Cut would launch on the 23rd. So I was like, okay, that should and literally like the last 10 things I ordered from Amazon, no joke, all showed up like 3 days early. They
Wow.
always do the thing where they tell you, "Oh, you need to buy this 2-day shipping option," like, or you should subscribe to Prime so that you get free 2-day shipping. And we're always like, "No, no rush, no hurry. We'll let it take longer and do the free shipping." And it always is like, "Okay, it'll get there on Saturday though. You're gonna have to wait." We order it and then it shows up on Tuesday. That happened multiple times where they're like, trying to convince you that the 2-day shipping is worth it, and then even
Hmm.
without Prime and without paying, it shows up early anyway. So I was like, oh yeah, if the by the latest date being May 21st, it'll definitely be here by the 23rd. Nope. So that sucked, but
Bummer.
this is like the one time it was time sensitive, and that's the one time it was late,
Of course, right?
and that
It's always worst case scenario of like, I need this now. Oh, it's gonna take us
yeah
about a month to get. That's what's been happening with me. I've also got some stuff that isn't Amazon affiliated, it's some other company
okay
affiliated that I've been waiting on parts for, and
hmm
it's just disappeared off the face of the earth. Last it was seen was in Tennessee, and that's it. It's been like a month, and we're like,
oh
where did it
no,
go? Not even like the people on the company end are just like, we don't know where it, like,
ooh,
we don't know where it
that's
is.
scary.
I'm like,
Yeah,
we need to talk with FedEx or UPS or whoever has it and say, what's up? Um,
right,
so
yeah.
that's
No,
frustrating.
that's messed
But
up.
at least you'll be able to review it. I mean, if it comes during the podcast, that'd be hilarious doing like a little unboxing and all
Yeah,
that.
I'll
Um,
agree to it. If it comes while we're recording, I'll unbox it on the podcast so I can get the
yay!
Amazon
Exclusive.
renewed unboxing experience. See how different that is.
Dude, I
See what
remember
it
when you
comes with.
unboxed that M1 iPad Pro. I think
Really?
was it two?
I don't
Was it 2 years ago? Maybe a year and a half ago.
think so. The StarLink unboxing was March of 2022, so it was not 2 years, but it
Yeah,
was over a year ago.
it's felt like
Um,
2 years at this point having this hardware, which is good because it means like that much time has passed and it hasn't been a
yeah.
burden for that long.
Now I think officially you've had Starlink longer than I have now.
Sweet.
I sweet. I had it for about 1 year, and it was at the 1 year mark where I was like, "Yeah, this is getting worse," and the T-Mobile thing's available, so I'm switching to
Well,
that.
now
But
that I
also,
know
you
that it's
getting it,
been over a year and I've gone further than or longer than you have, I guess it's time to quit Starlink. And I'm gonna go with was it Jeff Bezos or
there you go.
Amazon's via net or whatever it is.
Uh
I'll just go with that.
huh.
It's so much better.
Yeah.
Um, anyways,
Oh my god.
I
I'm
don't
trying to
remember
find the unboxing. I can't find it.
the M1 iPad unboxing. I forget too, but like I remember you. Was it even that? I remember you
Oh, it was
unboxing one.
almost exactly 2 years ago. It was May 21st, 2021.
Oh, well, there we go. I remember
Wow.
you unboxing that
Two
just
years later.
because it was that big of a deal having a M chip in the iPad.
Oh
But
yeah.
I, I don't know. Your excitement, I think, seemed warranted with it, and it's just kind of comical how it's been 2 years now. You don't own one, but now you're buying another one to review Final Cut Pro and all that on the iPad. and your
Hmm.
enthusiasm has just decreased substantially. It's like a cliff where like you're at the pinnacle of like iPads are great, and then like realizing this didn't solve anything, and then now we're like, why does this exist in the manner that it does? And now we're getting again just to check out Final Cut, and then you're like, this thing's gonna get thrown back at Amazon in the face once I'm
I'm
done
gonna
with this.
tell the delivery driver to not leave. You know, can you wait outside for a minute?
I'll,
I just need to
I'll make
test
you a
this.
sandwich and all that. Just stick here for a little bit. I'll even pay. No, I won't pay. But
We'll have him on the stream.
there.
Okay. So what do you think? Oh, that sucks. Yeah.
I think the only case I would do that is if like a Rivian EDV came to deliver a package. It'd be like, hey, hang out
Oh,
here for a
yeah.
little bit. By the
That's a
way,
good answer. Like, let's talk about this. What do you think?
yeah, what do you
Like,
think of
how
this?
do you like it?
I'd rather do
That's a
that
good.
than.
I would enjoy that. But
I,
yeah, I watched 4 or 5 channels review it
mm-hmm.
when it dropped on Tuesday, and somehow, even though I had low expectations, I was still disappointed. I was like, oh, it was just so different from the Mac version in the first place, which is like, I know that everyone's logic is, well, it's iPad, so it has to be different and it can't do all the same things. I'm like, yeah, but when people were asking for Final Cut on the iPad, it's because we wanted what we already knew and were comfortable with to just come to another device. It wasn't because we wanted to relearn and completely fundamentally rethink what Final Cut is.
Mm-hmm.
So I still feel like I'm probably going to come to the same reaction when I try it myself, but everyone still wanted me to, so I was like, okay, I'll try it. I'll try to edit a video completely just with Final Cut and see how it does, but I will bring up every little frustration, every little annoyance, and like, okay, there's that. We did it. We tried. Let's move on.
Nope, it took zero
Because
point 0.5 seconds more to open up this app. Nope, don't buy it. Not worth it.
oh, come on. I'm being more picky. I'm being more it's bigger than that. I'll admit.
It
Like,
is an iPad Pro, so it is a big device.
the the things they left out, like the color correction tools, were basically completely scrapped. The Ken Burns stuff was totally different. The stabilization options are gone. There's
Hmm.
no plugin options. You also can't drag in folders, which means basically anybody that shoots video on Red cameras, that requires a third-party plugin for Final Cut to accept, and Red footage is always saved to a folder. So basically, Red can't work at all, which instantly narrows it down to a different demographic. So, yeah, that basically rules out Marquez. He can't edit anything on it because that's all
Right.
he shoots on. So
That's a big
it
disappointment, though,
feels like,
not being able to do that. But I guess it's not unheard of for the device to have those limitations, like you've experienced before, trying to plug in a
yeah,
microphone to it and it just not having the interface to mix the
right.
microphone audio and all that on the fly.
All
Like,
software limitation, nothing to do with the hardware.
oh yeah, because we already know I'm using the hardware right now.
Yeah, you're using a MacBook to record this podcast with the exact same chip of the iPad that I'm about to test out, and yet they can't do the same things.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
it's
jeez,
weird.
I mean, that's a bummer. At least you'll be able to dip your toes in as well today, tomorrow, whenever it comes, and be able to come up with your own unique opinion about it firsthand. But at least from watching those videos,
My own unique criticism.
yeah, I guess I'm selling I'm selling you a little bit too good with the whole his own unique opinions. No, this boy's
Yeah, I
gonna
personally don't think
it's gonna take the iPad,
much
put
is
it
going to
on the
change.
stove burner top, and then turn it on to max heat, and it's just gonna catch on fire at that point because it can't even do Ken Burns, so we have to burn it into it. Yeah, man, that's a bummer. Uh,
Yeah,
it's not really a surprise though, but to be fair, I don't know. I think maybe I feel like you might be a tad surprised maybe by some of the user interface per se. Maybe it might awaken
yeah,
some uh, use cases that you didn't think you'd have. like with whether it's that dial or being able to draw certain waveforms or whatever, or something like that. Like just the things that it
One thing, okay,
offers with a
I'll
touchscreen.
I'll say something nice. I'll admit
Thank
one
you.
thing that I saw, one thing that I saw in the previews that people reviewing it that I wanted there that I haven't seen in iMovie or LumaFusion is that when you're using the mouse, the time head will stay with it.
Hmm.
So you can scrub through it just by moving the trackpad. You don't have to hit play. That's a nice thing that I like about Final Cut. The difference is I like having the razor tool so that I can click rather than doing a shortcut every single time. That's how I edit my videos. I'm just clicking with the razor tool. I was looking around for that in the reviews. Maybe it's there and just no one accessed it. So I guess that's what I'm going to be looking for. But as far as I can tell, the cursor seems to stay the same. But sorry, I'm botching my nice way of saying things already, but
Can't even
it
do
did
that.
some things that LumaFusion and iMovie didn't do, which I was like, okay, that's cool. I'm glad it scrubs a bit better. But not being able to access files on an external drive is a really weird limitation to me. I don't even like kind of understand that.
Hmm.
You know, I understand people saying, well, it's an iPad, so it has to be optimized for touch, so they had to redesign it because you want it to be capable of functioning without a keyboard and mouse. I don't love that argument, but I can understand it. But the not editing footage off the external drive thing, I don't understand at all. That doesn't is
It's
the
just
logic
another
that, well, it's
limitation.
because you're holding it, that would be bad for there to be a drive hanging out. So I I don't know. I can't think of a good.
Yeah, it's.
uh,
I think it's just another chalking it up to being an iPad, right? It's an iPad. What do you expect, right? Which is an
that would
unfortunate talking
yeah.
point, right? Like we live in this
Hmm.
like crazy reality where like we have infinite possibilities that we can do with devices like this, and we end
Yeah,
up
and Apple
deciding,
Silicon being so fast.
yeah. And like Apple touts how powerful their chip is, and it's like, okay, can we use that power here? And they're like, no, not really. You're like, okay, then this is a waste of electronics, right? I mean, big screen is big screen, which is nice, but
Big screen.
you don't really see me and my wife
That's pretty much
using
it.
the
Yeah.
iPad for all media consumption. We just default to the MacBook because easier to type, nicer
Hmm.
interface, quicker to get stuff done, and all that. And if we want to look at photos, it's a night. Well, I
You don't have
guess,
to jump through hoops to emulate the
yeah,
desktop experience.
right. Where iPad, it just seems like it. We've had this conversation so many times, but
Yeah.
it.
It would be more impressive if the price was lower, in my opinion. Like, I can understand the
Yes.
mindset of it's skimmed down version, it's missing some things, and a Mac is for real work. But now you can actually edit video and do all this stuff on an iPad. That'd be cool if it was like $300, $400. But when you need an M1 chip, and of course everybody who buys an iPad gets a cover with it and the pencil to access, so it turns into a $1,000 plus purchase.
Hmm.
It's no longer impressive to say, wow, and you're doing it on an iPad. It's like, yeah, you could have bought a Mac at that price. But uh,
Right. It
yeah,
kind of makes more sense to
it's,
me if they were to redo it. It would make more sense to, even if they kept prices the same.
mm-hmm,
It'd actually make more sense for Final Cut on the iPad to be one fixed price, and then for the
mm,
Mac to be a subscription, because then that way you're stuck with this issue of like, I don't have to pay for Final Cut anymore on the iPad, but working on the iPad sucks, and it even has its own button to share it to the Mac. But I don't want to pay the subscription for the Mac, so at least we live in that reality, or this reality where like
uh-huh.
we just have to pay once with the Mac and call it a day, and it's a nice green pasture. It's the nice rose garden inside this garden, where the iPad is kind of like in the weird dead weed portion of it, where like it hasn't been cared for really, it hasn't had a lot of its vines
Yes,
trimmed, so it's a giant mess of vines all over the place
yes,
around these dead weeds. And like there is some growth in there, like there's some like nice little leaves, maybe some grapes growing off of it, but
yeah,
like The grapes have a whole bunch of ants crawling all over it. There's been chickens that have been through that have pecked the grapes, so they don't even have any grape juice.
I love
in it.
this analogy. It keeps growing. We keep building on the walled garden analogy more and more. The pixel is a cactus, and the
what we need
iPad
to do is we need to
grapes.
coalesce all of these ideas and actually either have someone do it, or I could try my best at drawing it. Some rendition of this cyber garden, apple garden, whatever we've called it in the past, of like
Yeah,
it.
the walls of the garden are made of the wallet app and the iMessage blue bubbles and AirDrop are just assembling this wall, and
people need air tags to leave the walled garden, kind of like a little helmet or all that.
Right, yeah. No, this would be a cool, like, Where's Waldo style drawing. It could have a lot of intricate detail to it. That sounds fun. I will give you credit, though. I think this launch has confirmed what your theory was, because I was asking you, I think last week, I said, why did they release this now? Like, why May 23rd when there's an Apple event on the 5th?
Mm-hmm.
And you just launched new iPads a couple months ago. Why not release it at one of those, or at least talk about it at one of those and say it's coming later? And you said it was because it was unveiled the day before the Pixel event, basically. And they wanted to dominate the news cycle before the Pixel tablet. It was like an offensive. They took the offense with the marketing strategy. It's like, let's like hit the kneecaps of the Pixel marketing team before this new tablet comes out. And now that I've seen the release and how many basic things are missing, like a real simple one, incredibly simple thing to code that I've been doing for years, ever since I got Final Cut. When you're done editing, you just export by doing Command E. They don't have that.
Well, of course you don't have it on the iPad because there's no Command E on the iPad, right?
With the keyboard, with the keyboard case.
They can't even do that.
There's other shortcuts. There's a split shortcut, and there's I don't think there's a deactivate shortcut, but there's no marker shortcut. Sorry, I'm only remembering the stuff it doesn't have.
Right.
But there were other shortcuts that use the keyboard, but not Command E, which to me was like one of the most basic, like, okay, you're done with your project. So I was like, everyone reviewing it kept saying like, well, it's missing some things, but that'll come with time. I was like, they could have so easily just taken 2 weeks to add these little fine detail things.
You don't even need
unveil
to
it
just
at
grab it from the existing software and then put it in there.
Yeah, it's already on the Mac, right? It's already optimized for Apple Silicon. But yeah, they definitely didn't just port over the Mac version, which is what I think everyone wanted. But
no, but they already have shortcuts for split and all of that. So if they already have like some shortcut script in the code, how hard is it to put in add shortcut and then whatever?
No, there's a big list of shortcuts they did accommodate. But yeah, there's really basic stuff to me, which means that someone at Apple probably rushed this release, I think. I think that it was in the works and it was almost ready, and then they were like, let's get it out there, though, by mid-May. It's like, why? Why do we have to get it out mid-May? Can't we just take the few extra weeks? And at DubDub, I'm sure iPadOS 17 has like 0 changes. So during the iPad section, they could say, and hey, we're now bringing Final Cut. And that would have been a great like marketing thing at that portion of the keynote. We're bringing Final Cut and Logic to iPad. And if we go, whoa! Instead, they're like, no, let's not do it there. Let's rush the release that's missing a bunch of things and do it mid-May. Or maybe it could be the headset is going to take up so much time on stage that they're trying to condense down the software portion. I don't know.
Who knows? I mean, there's so many different theories we can have, and we won't know until we watch DubDub in what seems like, I think it's 11 days, right? As of right now, I think it's about 11 days until DubDub. But
wow, I didn't realize it's that soon.
I know, right? We're almost at single digits. In the countdown. but
Mm-hmm.
it could be a myriad of things. But I'll probably still stick with my notion of it was probably them getting some news out there because, like we've said, and like what many people have observed on YouTube or wherever you get your tech news,
Mm-hmm.
there's not much to talk about besides the iPhone 15 might have better battery life. The iPhone 15 might have this. There might
It'll have
be
solid state buttons. No, it won't have solid state buttons.
they,
Or it might do that. No, it won't do that.
they might release a Apple Watch Ultra 2 this year. We don't know. It's just all like very. I mean, there's speculation, but then there's kind of just like, maybe the Apple helicopter does come out this year. We don't know for a fact, but it could. We don't know. I mean, it's just like out of
Yeah.
left field
There's not enough
guesses.
real stuff. Mm-hmm.
It's just like, yeah. So I'm sticking with the notion, at least with this Final Cut Pro and Logic Pro integration on the
Mm-hmm.
M1 iPad, or M1 iPad or above, to M2 and then maybe M3. We might see that. We
Yeah.
don't know. That it was all just to get in the news, to make sure that, hey, remember, Apple's still here with the iPad, right? The iPad, you love this, right? Don't pay attention to
Uh-huh.
the cool tablet that has a speaker on it that unfortunately can't use as a Bluetooth speaker, but you can still do whatever the heck you want with it. Where this
Yeah.
just sits and does nothing. All no, we need to be in the news right now. We need something. Here's Final. Let's okay.
Well, I will admit it makes for a great headline.
Oh
Like
yeah.
the execution, I have issues with, but people have been asking for this for literally years. I remember everyone talking about it back in 2018, probably, maybe earlier. So after all these years, people in reviews and everything all keep saying, "I wish they'd add Final Cut Logic." Of course, I had 40-minute tangents that went into a lot more depth about no, it's not just the pro apps; it needs a lot more other
Sir,
stuff.
you have a
But
documentary on this at this point.
I could get my own Max original series on like 10,
Why,
10 episode
why did you say that name?
season. HBO is no mo, unfortunately.
Have you followed a
But
little bit of that launch of Max at all?
vaguely, but I'm getting it, which
Cool.
is why I'm kind of excited because I'm using my cousin's Discovery Plus.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him, hey, like, there's a chance they might take away Discovery Plus now that they're merging HBO and everything. And he said, no, I'm getting the new Max plan. He was like, I want that. He was like, I wasn't willing to pay for them separately, but I will pay the 15 a month for the combined one, which only allows 2 screens, but I think it shouldn't use much more than that. So we'll find out.
Who
I
knows?
told him about the whole Max Ultimate, or what did you call it? There's a
No.
there's a term for it. There's 3 different tiers of Max, and they're hilarious.
Max Weinbeck, Max.
Oh yeah, one is yeah, and one Max. Yeah, Max Tech. There's all kinds of Max to keep track of.
Which Max do you want?
Okay, so just as a reminder for everybody, the 3 tiers are pretty easy to remember, but I'm sure they'll change them in a year. $10 a month, $15 a month, $20 a month, increments of 5. The $10 a month tier is with ads. And then, oh no, did they already change it? God, that was fast.
Literally,
Now it's
as we're
six,
talking.
and now it says 16 a month. I don't know who to trust. Okay,
I'm just gonna look at HBO Max and hope it just
there's
routes me to
15
Max.
a
Yeah.
month. There's the middle tier, which is what my cousin's gonna get for us, and it's 15 a month, and it's called ad free.
Yep.
And then the top tier is called ultimate ad free, which
What a name!
which is hilarious. I guess the 2 higher tiers, neither of them have ads, but one of them lets you stream at 4K
Yep.
on 4 screens at a time.
With immersive
whereas,
Dolby Atmos audio and all that.
and then the middle tier is capped at 1080p at 2 screens. I'm not sure what the base one.
Base just does 2 devices at once with just full HD video resolution, but there is a difference between ad-free and ultimate ad-free in regards to you can download, I think only, I didn't know you could do this, but at least with Max, you can
Okay.
download 30 things to watch on the go with the ad-free tier.
Oh, I see it.
How has this
Yeah.
become advertisement for Max? Anyways, you can do 100 downloads to watch on the go for the ultimate ad free. Why not? And you can do monthly or yearly or something like that. But anyways,
So
what I
two
want.
devices is the minimum. It doesn't go to just one device yet.
Thank goodness. Thank you,
Thank
Max.
God.
But was it? I wanted to bring up was it on day one of Max releasing or whatever. It's not even like utilizing HBO Max's app. It's a whole new app, so you had to download a whole new app.
Oh,
And even on that day,
God.
people that
It's
tried
horrible.
downloading it and like watching stuff, the app was down for like I don't know how long. But it's
It's
so
so bad.
a great start
This is like Game
by
of Thrones
Max.
all over again.
Oh my goodness. Khaleesi came in and burned everyone with her dragon or whatever. But
Game of game of game
Game
of
of
streaming.
Max.
Game of. I thought other people were complaining about the name because of how, like you just said, Max is used in so many terms. We got 15 Pro Max and we've got M1 Max.
Well,
People were
searched
saying
up
they should have called it
Max.
Warner Plus.
I looked up was it Max Tiers, and it immediately comes up with Warner Bros. Max streaming service. So it's an article. I'm like, okay, that's not it. Second one is Deadline.
Hmm.
So it's like, nope. Why is Max not the first one? Like, at least pay for like your site to be the top listing, if anything,
I know, right?
Max. Because
Give
I,
Google their fair share.
if I just type in Max, okay, Max.com comes up, which is the HBO Max.
Wow, they got Max.com. They own that URL.
If you just type in Max, yeah, they have www.max.com, which is
Wow, they do.
that's
That
pretty
must have been hard to get. That's a
pretty
short character
right.
URL.
Better than x.com apparently. There's an M&A in front of it. Ma.
Those are really hard.
Right. I think
X.com hasn't changed, by the way. It's still just the letter X.
oh, I'm sure. I think honest even though that they've had all these issues and there's so much controversy surrounding the name and what they offer and all that, I think this is still way better than what's going on at Netflix with what just rolled out, I think yesterday or the day before, uh, being the fact that people in the US, I think, and also in Canada as well, now
Mhm.
have to pay an extra, is it $5.99 or $7.99 if you want to watch
I
it
saw
from another
7.
location? I think it's 7.
Yeah,
It's something like that.
it's
And
brutal.
what was actually ironic is that very same day, my wife texted my mom asking for the Netflix password again because she wanted to watch it on her phone. It was that very same day that they're doing the whole thing, but I haven't heard anything yet, or I haven't seen anything yet in regards to accessing Netflix on my end. So maybe I'm on this 30-day trial until they're like, you need to log in at your home address and all that, even though that we're using my mom's Netflix account and all that. So who knows?
See, that's what I can't figure out. I keep looking around. I keep asking, how do they verify, like, shared passwords? Because obviously, sometimes you leave your house and you could watch Netflix on your phone or at a vacation place or whatever on your same account. How do they not consider that password sharing? Is it the amount of time you spend? Is it after a certain amount of time they realize, oh, okay, this is a different user? Like, I don't know how they verify it, basically.
I don't know either per se, and honestly, it just annoys me the fact that
Yes,
like
it's
they're
very annoying.
like just in general, like you cannot share your password in a world where like we share passwords all the time with everything, whether it's your Google Drive, like your
Yeah,
Google account password for YouTube or Google
yeah.
Drive or anything else, or like even like bank account passwords or anything. I mean, you probably shouldn't,
Hmm.
but you can. Um,
You can.
and you don't see banks being like, "Oh no, if your spouse wants to access your bank account, you need to actually do a shared bank account so that way you can do that."
Yeah,
You shouldn't be doing that. If you do, we're gonna charge you an extra $5 for that session or whatever. It's like you don't see
it's pretty
that,
steep. You know, I thought they were gonna do like $3 a month extra or 4 for sharing, not like 8. Like,
right?
I don't understand. I understand you don't want like one account for like 500 people, but they already prevent that with the number of screens you can have at a time. I don't
Right.
understand why they can't just enforce that. Just 4 screens per account. Okay, done. Like what's the issue with that business approach? get it.
I've got no clue. At this point, was it the only show that we're watching on Netflix is what I'm not even watching. My wife's watching the Bridgerton series, both that and its offshoot and
Okay.
all that. Once we're done with that, like if we get prompted to pay or they prompt my mom to pay an extra $7.99 for
Mm-hmm.
sharing the password, um,
Mm-hmm.
we'll probably just say no, don't pay it, mom. Enjoy Netflix. We'll survive. We don't need to
Yeah,
give
yeah.
Netflix an extra $8 a month just so that way we can occasionally scroll through Netflix to see if there's any shows that we want to watch. And usually we can't find anything. I mean, she doesn't even like she scrolls through it like every night and she can't find anything, so then she moves on to the next streaming service and looks around. Like there's no reason to have it
Right.
then. So it's like, all right, well,
I agree. I mean, it's like to me, I look at it inversely. It's like someone will pay me not to watch those shows. I
mm-hmm,
will make $20 a month if I don't watch anything on there. So
right.
that's how I view. What's still crazy to me is that despite this kind of all the price hikes and a lot of people I see online always complain about how Netflix doesn't have good shows or that many good shows, and I, for the most part, agree. There's not much on there I'm interested in. Um, I was just looking at their stock; it's gone up nearly 100% in the past year. So
So
I guess the shareholders are happy, but I'm not happy. Like,
So an article
hasn't.
that I've got up right now says that like over 100 million households were sharing accounts, which is basically 43% of their user base. This is by uh, NBC News, I guess. But
Hmm.
apparently, in the first quarter of this year, they managed to add 1.75 million customers.
That's
So,
crazy to me. I just I can't imagine who's signing up now that wasn't there before. Like,
right.
oh, I want to watch. I don't know. I'm just not part of that crowd, I guess. But, um, like, is this just a more creative way of price hikes?
I think so, honestly. It's just another way. Well, one, it's one way for the company to get more money, or I guess ensure that they get money versus password sharing and all that. Um,
But you're like rewarding. Maybe is it like a bandwidth thing? Like, are they trying to reward houses that have? Because the way I see it is okay. Let's assume you have the 4K tier, right? You have the maxed out $20 a month Netflix plan.
mhm.
One house has like a family in it, and for whatever reason, the family's all watching Netflix on in different screens in different rooms. That house, are they less of a burden on a different account, which is also paying for the four tiers, but they're watching from four separate addresses? Does that cost Netflix more to stream to than just one Wi-Fi network beaming to four separate devices?
Who knows? I think this is a nice broad stroke approach, though, for them to
Hmm.
ensure that they're getting money for from their customers on their service. Where,
Uh huh.
yeah, you get into the nitty gritty of like highs and low, or like basically min maxing a bunch of different stuff of like someone
Mm-hmm.
paying the premium tier and sharing it with this other family, like you mentioned, versus other family paying for was it the lowest tier, the standard with ads and all that, and the other one paying for premium. Like I guess they get a little bit extra, or I guess maybe conversely, the other one is like a standard tier with that extra family versus premium with that other family. But now
Hmm.
the smaller family is having to pay for standard with ads. Anyways, it's a whole lot
Hmm.
of schematics that might add up to something, but I don't think Netflix wants to do that. They don't want to try to figure out how can we delineate this and like encourage to pay for our service in a different way. They're just going the broad stroke approach of you cannot share your password anymore unless you
For
pay
free.
us. Yeah,
Yeah.
unless you pay us basically for almost basic price tier or standard
Yeah,
with
it's really
ads.
close. You're right.
It's insane. And which even was it basic is unlimited ad free.
10? 10
It
bucks a month now?
they say it's about yeah 9.99 a month. So
Okay.
you get ad free movies, TV shows, and mobile games. Which it's kind of funny that Netflix is now doing mobile
What?
games. You didn't know
Oh,
this?
that's right. I vaguely remember hearing that once, but I don't. Like, does anyone do that? Is there
My wife and I
anybody
did.
in. Really? You got
we
the game thing?
so
What did they give you?
we didn't, we're using my mom's, but like this was at the very beginning. They came out with you probably remember this old mobile game called Trivia Crack or Trivia
Oh yeah, yeah.
whatever
I
it
know
is.
that one.
Basically, I had like the little cartoony face and all that. We've played that, and Netflix has their own like version of it where like so they've got the Trivia Crack one, and then they also have another mobile game that is kind of like somewhat similar, but instead of having four, well, it's a different look and feel and has a different setup. But you can basically compete with in that version your spouse or someone else. So it's a nice like competition of trivia there, where it's like
Okay.
Trivial Pursuit versus Trivia Crack, which
Huh.
is also like Trivial Pursuit, but it's more of like
Wow.
a collaborative process. But either way,
Mm-hmm.
we've played that. And it's been fun, but like we don't really do it anymore because we're busy as heck with other stuff, and
20 bucks is more fun.
right. We would rather at this point with our time watch a show, whether it's on Apple
Sure, sure.
TV or Paramount Plus or something like that.
Yeah,
We'd
yeah.
rather do that than play a trivia game
Wow.
together. But when we had the time, we did play it, and it was fun. And I did browse through all
Mm-hmm.
the other games. I never got to play them, but there's a lot of other mobile games on there that were like, oh wow, that's interesting. So
Yeah.
it is curious, especially when they have hired on was it the previous game director, or I forget if he was game director or something like that. Basically, one of the guys from the Halo franchise who's been there for a while quit, and now he's working for
Okay.
Netflix in their gaming department. So
I
Netflix
see.
is, I think what Netflix is trying to do is make sure that they have no more password sharing, but then also enhance their service.
Well, they want it. They're gonna bill you for it now.
Yeah, well now they're gonna bill you for it, but they're gonna enhance that service in a way that I guess kind of makes sense, right? Because why not package the streaming of entertainment with the streaming of games, kind of like what Google attempted and
Mm-hmm.
failed at, but now it's all kind of all in one with you're scrolling through movies and all of a sudden you see you want to play Trivia Crack or whatever. Like, okay, I wasn't expecting to play a video game tonight, but now that you have it here and you've kind of intrigued me with like there's a game on Netflix, let's try it out. I think that's what they're hoping now is that you have people paying whether it's on basic or standard or whatever, or standard with
Mm-hmm.
ads or just basic, but you're able to like, oh, now you have access to our library of mobile games,
Right.
and we might have our own original games like with this new Halo creative director or whoever they are coming in
Mm-hmm.
making some either sci-fi or fantasy or whatever else game that's original to Netflix. You can't access it anywhere else, not even on Steam. You have to
Really.
buy
Wow.
Netflix and play it.
Full on Apple Arcade style.
Exactly. It's very much
Yeah.
Apple Arcade approach, which has me intrigued now on like whatever this new approach is to their platform. That I'm very annoyed with like how they've been handling it, more so than what Max has done. But this
Mm-hmm.
gaming aspect of it has definitely piqued my interest of like what are you trying to do, and can you be more successful than the giant that is Apple? Um,
Like they're just trying. They're in the business of not. It's not just movies and shows. It's like screen time. I think I
mhm.
remember them saying that once during our earnings call or something. Netflix said like we compete more with Fortnite than we do Disney or something like that. It was like
Mhm.
we want to just be in charge of all the entertainment. Honestly, Netflix should probably merge with Spotify if they want to, pick a fight. You could
Imagine
have
that.
the music, podcasts, movies, everything start blurring together. You'd have this big. We are the membership. We
Listen
are
to
now.
Taylor Swift podcasts on Netflix. Wow.
They should change the name because Netflix implies, flick, motion picture.
So it'll
Net
just be net
Spotify.
because if we're following this idea of HBO
The Max
Max,
approach.
well, there's
Net.
the funny joke, right? Like HBO Max is like,
Net.com. Let's see who owns it. We better buy it quick, Mike.
oh yeah, then
He's
sell
got
it for millions of dollars or billions of dollars,
this
and
site
then we
can't
can
be
make our.
reached.
Uh, well, well, I guess was it there is that
Someone's gonna
site where
buy
you're
it.
able to look it up and all that of like, is this
Who owns? Yeah.
net whatever.com, but
Net.
what is it? The funny idea of like HBO Max cut off HBO now it's just Max. Do the same thing with Netflix cut off Flix now it's just net. And then you get to Peacock, and you're like, oh, never mind.
But then there's .net. You could have net.net or just .net.
I think they're
www.net. Oh, that's
that
their next big business plan.
that
So,
would tick off
what
so
I was
many
trying to
people.
figure out was, is it $8 per password you share?
I think so.
So that means, assuming there's one person that actually pays for it so they can use it from home, and you can have 4 screens at a time, 3 times 8, that's 24. So
It may.
theoretically, your Netflix bill could go up to a maximum of $44 a month.
Yep. Okay, so here,
Oh,
extra members can only have one profile and cannot create other profiles. And these extra members can also download titles, but only on one phone or tablet at a time, and
weird.
can only access with one device at a time as well. Um,
Mm,
so
that's
basically,
annoying.
you are paying for uh, was it a basic, but like with some of the premiums of premium being uh ultra HD and all that. And
Yeah. Well, so are you implying when you say that Netflix doesn't want password sharing that by pricing it so unreasonably, like $8 a month per line, that
mhm.
you're just trying to motivate people to get their own membership? If is the mindset like, well, if it's $8 a month, I might as well just get my own at that point.
I think it's kind of it's the idea of what Apple already did with like Apple One, where like you
Mm.
need more storage, just pay a little bit more and all that. Where Netflix is like, you can make it easy by just paying $8 a month or whatever for an extra line or whatever on your premium subscription,
Ugh, it's turning into
or
Verizon.
you can just get a basic plan for that person, and there you go. And of course, any Joe Schmo in 2023, as we record this, is going to be like, I want to make things as easy as possible with my subscriptions. Why would I get an extra subscription? No, I'd rather just be tacked on to this. And then you would tell that person, just pay for the extra, and I'll throw in an extra amount of money or whatever. People would rather just be packaged into something like what
Hmm.
Disney Plus does with their ESPN and Hulu package and all that. They'd rather be packaged in rather than
Did you hear
have
about
to.
that?
I did not. What's going on with that now? Oh no.
Hulu. I don't know about ESPN, but Hulu will no longer be a separate app. They're
Interesting.
going to build Hulu into Disney Plus.
Oh,
Disney Plus is going to get a price hike that hasn't been announced yet. We don't know how much,
I can
but
finally watch Rick and Morty on Disney Plus. Interesting.
that's just what the kids needed. No, I think it will. I think they said it's still a separate membership though. Like you can bundle them if you want, but if you just want Hulu, you can just get Hulu, but you'll have to access it through Disney Plus. Like I don't know how it's going to work, but I saw the announcement and I'm just like, "Oh god." See, the reason I don't pay for any of these, but the reason I pay attention is because what Netflix does, typically the rest of the industry follows.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't care about Netflix, so it's easy for me to just screw it, I won't do it. But this will probably be a trickle down business approach to other services that
Trickle
affects all of
down.
us.
Trickle down streamonomics. Uh,
It's streams down
Stop. No, no. I
the
see where
net.
you're going. No, stop. I know where this river's going, and it's not exiting into an estuary. Um, but was it? Does this mean then, if everyone's following Netflix, I get to play all those very crappy uh, Disney website games back from my youth? That'd be great. I would love to
I
do that.
think there's a decent chance of that happening. Disney must own a ton of video game companies, right? That's got to be a thing.
Do they? That's a good.
They own everything.
Well, they own Marvel, and Marvel, whenever like, here's an example. There's a Marvel Avengers game, and there's also a Marvel Guardians of the Galaxy game that I guess I guess they both came out on both consoles of Sony and Xbox and all that. But
Yeah.
because it's Marvel assets, they have to put in Marvels and then whatever. So Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. So it appears like
Right.
Marvel did it.
They have to have some deal with them, I'm
In
sure.
actuality, Marvel maybe sent over a few of their guys to help out with it, but in reality, it was another company that worked on it and all that. Um, but that Marvel's owned by Disney, so I guess Disney somehow gets a little bit of cut of the check of that as well. Interesting.
If
So
they get money out of it, I'm sure they would partner. That this is where it's all headed. It's all just the membership
it all just
models.
becomes giant. So kind of like how we have the Apple ecosystem and the Android ecosystem, but in the Android ecosystem, you've got other ecosystems like Google and Samsung
Mm-hmm.
and all that. It's going to become
Yeah.
maybe that with these streaming services
Douchey.
even more. We're going to talk about that in a few. Uh, but like it might just become that with streaming services where they become even larger bubbles where now it's not just you can watch Game of Thrones on Max, you can now play Game of
You can
Thrones
now game the
Fall
throne.
Fall of Westeros or whatever. It's
Uh
some
huh.
third
That's
party
probably
not
where it's
really
headed.
thought of probably.
Well, Microsoft has Game Pass, right? So
Yeah.
there's there's gaming memberships and there's movie streaming memberships. It's I guess it's only a matter of time before they start merging.
This is where or was it Xbox went wrong back in the day. Was I forget. Was it 10 years ago? No. What year is it? 2023?
Yeah.
It was maybe 10 or 11 years ago. Xbox announced the Xbox One, and they had this whole entire keynote or whatever where like they were plugging the word TV into every sentence of that keynote. Every single
hmm
paragraph had at least 5 instances of the word TV in it because they were pushing
It's like
TV.
Apple's 5G and
Yes,
Google's AI.
but it's like you're buying this gaming system, but it's actually a TV box as well, and you can watch sports on it. You can watch your streaming services
Right.
on it. Like it was
Right.
all TV focused. That's where they announced like the Halo TV show and all that, and that took so long to come out. And when it did come out, woo wee. But even so, like Microsoft was ahead of the game in this then of like let's
Mm.
package video games with TV. Now TV is like let's package TV with video games. Like Xbox was thinking way ahead, and
Yeah.
now we're living in that reality, or what seems like that reality is coming right now with Netflix trying out mobile games and probably all these other uh, streaming services dipping their toes in the water
Yep.
as well.
Oh, and
Um,
Apple's been at it for years now with the One thing. They've got their TV Plus, they got their arcade and their music, and they're trying
right,
to iCloud rope it all together into one thing.
right. It just
Good
has.
stuff. Fun future
Oh dear
to
lord,
look forward to, huh?
everything is a subscription now. You can't even buy $60 games outright. You have to buy a $15 a month deal to play the next Halo game or whatever. Like, ugh, I don't like that feature. I like what I've got going on with my Steam Deck right now, where I can just buy
hmm
my Steam game and play it wherever I want, and it's just there. It's easy, and I don't have to pay a
Have you
monthly
seen?
subscription.
I know literally nothing about this, but you are a PS5 owner,
I
and
am.
Sony unveiled this little handheld thing that lets you, I
I'm
think, you
glad you brought this
stream
up. Yeah.
PS5 games. I'm obviously not interested, but maybe you are. I'm curious if that's something you want to invest in. It looks pretty, I'll admit.
So this is what you're talking about right now. Is a glorified.
Project Q.
They called it Project Q. I watched this yesterday because I'm interested
Okay.
in what's coming out from Sony because I own a PS5. Um,
Yeah.
this is a glorified Wii U.
Yeah. Woo woo.
Yeah, I don't know if you're familiar with the Wii U, but
I am. It came
it
up a lot when the Nintendo Switch came out.
yeah, that thing was so basically, at least how am I gonna put this? So the Wii U was a dedicated controller to be used in conjunction with the console on the entertainment system, and you could not
Right.
play games unless you had this gamepad for many
Correct.
games. You could not take that gamepad with you to the store when your mom's taking you to go grocery shopping and all that. It had to stay
It
with
was
the
not
console.
independent. Right.
No, it was an independent controller where like you were required to use it for certain games, but like you could not
hmm
take it wherever you went. Project Q from Sony is basically that. You cannot take this out with you to the grocery store. You cannot go on a road trip
They
with
should
it.
have called it Project U.
It
That
would
would
have
have
been
been funnier.
hilarious. But this is basically just a glorified screen that you can take to your bed and continue playing your PS5 game of God of War or Marvel's
So is it?
Spider-Man and all that.
It's literally not running any of the game itself. It's just streaming a video signal from your console as long as it's on the same Wi-Fi.
That's what I understand, yes, or at least whatever Bluetooth
Okay,
connection it is to the PS5. I'd have to read on it more, but at least from what I
that seems
got,
like a bad idea, personally.
gosh dang right it is. It is. So yeah, you're
If
right.
it was independent, that would be cool.
No, it's not. The only thing I think it has good going for
Hmm.
it is it's basically yes, taking your PS5 experience to the bedroom or wherever else you want to game, uh, with the cool DualSense controller and all that. Because I will say, in which I think I've said this in the past, DualSense is the next generation of controllers, in my opinion. Its
Yeah.
immersion is amazing,
Hmm.
but having this weird Wi-Fi Bluetooth Wii U tablet companion thing that you can't
That's
take.
probably gonna suck.
Yeah, and who knows like how hot it's gonna get with like being able to like handle whatever. Like, we don't even know
You're
much.
gonna need fiber optic gigabit internet with Wi-Fi 7 support on your router and everything just to get it decent, and then it'll still probably be kind of laggy and pixelated, compressed, and all that.
Who knows? I had zero interest in it when they announced it yesterday. As of this recording,
Okay.
they announced it yesterday, but like I had no interest in it, and it just sounds. It sounds like a glorified Wii U gamepad, but it doesn't even like. You're not even making gamepad exclusive games for it. It's just you now get to play Spider-Man in bed, or you get to play it out in your front yard,
Well,
or whatever.
okay. To play devil's advocate, even though I have no interest in this product,
I
I
know.
would I would argue the use case for it would be if you wanted to play PlayStation games more passively. So you're on the couch, like in your situation, I envisioned. You used to play your PS5 on the couch on the big screen, but what if you want to just have a game on or a movie or TV show on while you're playing that game? Now you can play the PS5 game right there on the couch, so it's pretty close to the PlayStation, and the latency should be pretty okay. But
Uh-huh.
then the TV can actually be playing something else. That can just be playing a
Football or
show
whatever.
while you're gaming.
Yeah.
That's the use case I envision, but I don't
Hmm.
know if that's a common one.
Yeah, I agree with that use case. Like, it's a pretty nice use case, but like, I don't know. Like,
It's probably going to be expensive, huh?
exactly. That's the next thing that I was going to bring up is like, how much are you willing to pay for that experience versus you take the PS5 into the other room and play it on like the crappier TV that you've got in your bedroom or whatever. Assuming you're a kid, you maybe have a TV in your room, or if not, maybe you're an
Yeah,
adult, you have a TV in your
sure.
room. Maybe you take it in there if your spouse or your kids want to play on that giant screen or not play. Well, either play a different game that's not your PS5 or
Hmm.
watch a show or anything like that. Like, it seems like a great way to get more money off of someone for someone who doesn't know
Yeah,
what this is, or like
right.
it just doesn't seem like a big market, or like I don't know. Sony has
Would
always
you be at
been
all interested if they made their own Steam Deck style thing where it
yes.
was independent?
I would
Okay.
be heavily interested. Like right now, we've got the Steam Deck, which is very much just Steam's version of a handheld of
Hmm.
like what the Switch is, but you're able to play whatever game you want. You can even play Switch
Yeah.
games on it if you want to get those games through other means. You can, um,
Hmm.
and they might actually play a lot better than what they do on the Switch. And then was it the Asus ROG Ally now exists in the market, and that's basically, if you really want to call it, it's the Windows handheld machine because it does run Windows, and you can play Xbox games on it. And I
Right.
think you could do Game Pass on it as well. I mean, you should be able to do Game Pass on it as well. I don't know if you
Right.
can do Xbox Gold games or like anything else like that I'm interested in. So
Yeah.
I don't pay for Game Pass because I game. I just don't game that often. So
Yeah.
something like the
Right.
Steam Deck makes more sense. Where like getting
Mm-hmm.
Game Pass and paying $15 a month. Some months I don't have that much time to play games, so it doesn't
That's
make sense
fair.
to pay $15 a month. But I don't know. I don't know ahead of time that I'm gonna be that busy. I just know in that moment that oh yeah, or in the past yes, of course I was busy during the month of March for X reason. Um,
Right.
but I
That's
wouldn't know
cool. You
that
can
before.
back out of it when needed.
Yeah, but even still, like you just don't know. So like you might be stuck
Right.
paying that much. Where like paying $60 a year, like I do with, uh, was it their gold subscription or whatever like that? That seems more.
Mm-hmm.
It makes more sense to me because sometimes I play with my friends, but not always. Um.
Sure.
Anyways, so we've got like the Steam. We got the Switch from Nintendo. We got the Steam Deck from Steam. We've got the ROG Ally, which is basically like the Xbox version. There is a space for Sony to enter the market with their own exclusive games, God of War, Gran Turismo, and all that. They could, but instead they choose to do a Wii U gamepad, which is just I
You think that's like the cheaper, quicker solution to get in on that market? Is that why they're doing it?
probably this might be a way for them to kind of survey the waters of like, do people want to buy a portable device that plays PlayStation games? And if they see a very large uptake, maybe they'll go with that. Or
Yeah.
my argument is it flops and then they realize they err of their ways, hopefully, and go with the PlayStation Deck or whatever they want to call it. The PlayStation Go, the PSP, huh?
Oh! It
Right,
comes full circle. They already went there, didn't they? I
exactly.
totally forgot. Yeah. What
So
happened to that? Why did that not stick around? Performance, I'm guessing?
probably performance or just sales numbers as well, because it was existing around a time where even
That's so
Nintendo
funny you brought up the PSP.
was focusing more on their console with the Wii rather than, I guess they had the 3DS at the time, but like I
Hmm.
it's kind of
Well, the
tough.
tech has improved,
Exactly.
obviously.
So I think
So this is
there
the
stands
time.
to be a time to revive the PSP. But
I
I
hope
d-
they call it that. I love that name.
the PSP, it's such a classic. I never owned a PSP, but I had friends that owned PSPs and they would rave about it. It's like people that own Zunes versus iPods and they raved about the Zune.
Yeah,
Like
yeah. I had friends with it too.
well, it's like me with the Surface. It's like I rave about the Surface. The Surface Pro is great. It's just it had its issues, and that's perfectly fine compared to like an iPad or a
Yeah.
MacBook. Like, yeah,
I think they're still making those though. That's the
sir,
difference.
yeah, they just have their issues as well.
PSP Pro, PSPP, PSP Max, Net.
No, stop. Cutting you off
You
there.
always have to. You have to make it a three-letter acronym. That's the rule. Apple One, Max,
Hmm.
Net, GPT, PSP, IHOP. No.
No,
So.
IHOB. Lest we forget the burgers, but
Mm,
maybe I think right now PlayStation is focusing on what they rumored are to be focusing on right now is a pro version of their PlayStation 5. So maybe
yeah, everyone's been wanting that.
that's maybe where a lot of their R&D is going into, and maybe they wanted to make something that would compete against the Steam Deck and the Switch, and they realized we can't, but maybe this might
Hmm.
be a cool product we can get some money off of, and which is why Project
True.
Q probably exists. Who knows? Even so, I'm not interested in buying it. I've got no reason to buy it. My Steam Deck is everything that I want it to be right now. The only
That's
thing
fair.
that would convince me is if PlayStation made a Steam Deck alternative or Switch alternative. Um, Probably Steam Deck, right? Because you don't want to try and make it also
Yeah.
your console. Uh,
Right.
just leave it as its own separate device like a PSP. But
Hmm.
that would be in the case where like Spider-Man is amazing and I want to take that on the go for Spider-Man 2, I should say. Because I played the first
Hmm.
Spider-Man and Miles Morales and those were great games, so I have no doubt that Spider-Man 2 is going to be that much and more from what they showed at
Oh
the
yeah.
showcase and all that. It looked amazing. I don't know if you got to see a
Mm-hmm.
trailer for that, but it looked awesome. But that'd be the only reason why I'd probably get something like that, and it doesn't
Okay.
exist, so I don't need to buy it then because I
Looking
can't.
for something that doesn't exist.
Right. Or giving a
Yeah.
PlayStation a shower at this point. Um,
Maybe that's the Pro. The Pro will have a whole docking thing like a Switch. It's taking more time to
you
work
can take the
work that
middle
out.
slice out of the Wi-Fi router, and there you go. Um,
How big will the Pro be? Oh my
Bigger
god.
than a Steam Deck. Or no, oh, I
Probably
guess
just a
the
gaming
PS Pro.
PC at this point.
It
Yeah.
just becomes a tower. It takes up your whole entertainment system plus more.
It's actually the system. It's furniture. Why haven't they figured that out yet?
You sit
It's
on
just
it.
the whole stand. You sit on. Remember those old gaming chairs that everyone had that were on the
Right.
floor
They
with the
rocked.
speakers? You put the console in that thing, and it has ventilated seats that cool you.
It's a whole
Anyway.
cartridge at this point. It's like a VCR card, like a more like yeah, basically giant cassette tape. But plugging into it's now the PlayStation chair with the PlayStation Pro plugging in. Oh dear lord. Yeah, no, I'm not a fan of this Project Q. It is the most hilarious thing ever, and who knows what the battery life is on it as well because it's having to stream
That's true.
over the game and yeah, no, I'm good. I'm fine with my Steam Deck, in which I've been very happy with over the
Hmm.
past week that I've been using it more concretely. Still haven't figured out the whole emulation thing. Thanks to those in the comments from the last podcast who are just like, how did he screw up putting ROMs on his Steam Deck? I don't know.
Yeah, we got a
And
lot of people weighing in on that one, didn't we?
I appreciate those that did weigh on it. And I love the comments that are just like, how does he screw up that? Because I don't even know how I did either, but apparently I did. I'll take a second crack at it next week when I've got time, because this week's I've
Yeah,
been
yeah.
busy. But like next week,
That's
I'll
fair.
I'll try loading on the ROMs again to see maybe I missed a step. But
Yeah.
anyways, yeah. So let's talk about the giant brick in the room that could be
The
used
Pixel
to.
stand? I love the Pixel stand.
It can't even support your 6A, but the other stand that apparently has a camping light on the back of it. And yeah, that thing. Oh, dear Lord.
Oh my god. Here's your thickness.
Bruh, that's a
This
brick.
thing is hilarious. Speaking of hilarious tech, maybe that's what this week's is all about.
Hilarious ideas
so
and technology from
I wanted to talk
streaming
about
to
the
hardware.
the rumor of the iPhone having like a nightstand mode thing for iOS 17 because you have an iPhone with an always-on display. But
Hmm.
if you have questions about this, I will speed through them.
How
Unless
much have you
there's a lot
used
of
it?
questions. Um, well, I'm down to 82%.
From
I
when you
have
first
not plugged it
unboxed it?
in once. Yeah.
Wow!
I've used it quite a bit. I mean, not like super hard, but I've left 120 hertz on because that's beautiful. And it's hilarious using a phone and seeing the battery just not move for so long.
Hmm.
But the cameras are pretty bad. But when I
Okay.
tried to show it to my wife, the camera was pretty good. I was like, "Look, honey, the cameras are awful." And I took a picture and I showed it to her. She's like, "What? That's fine.
I can see the
That's
flower
that's
petals.
good."
We're good.
Yeah. So she thinks I was, I guess, being a little too critical about it. But yeah, it's obviously the biggest issue is the weight. I struggle to understand. I don't even know if it's meant to go in pockets, really, because
Is that why
it
there's
pulls
extra
down on you.
O's and E's in the name? Because it's just got that much more weight in it, so it's not even Doge.
That's
it's
it.
Doge.
That explains.
What is the
Doogee,
What is
yeah.
the name called again? Doji?
Doogee is how it's
Doogee.
pronounced, I guess.
Okay. Is this a
Well, I
specific
looked it up, and
Doogee
that's what they
phone?
claim.
Like, is this the Doogee Pro or Doogee One?
Yeah, it's the Doogee S100 Pro, which is not out yet. You
Okay.
can pre-order them now, but this is the first early access hardware I've ever had.
Congrats, good sir.
we
And it's got a giant chevron on the back too.
That it really does look like the Chevron phone, doesn't it? This is trying to look leather. It's not leather, by the way. This is all
Ooh, it's all
plastic.
durable though.
Um, it is, but at the same time, like I, the fact that there's no case and this is just what it is, means that if I do throw it around, people are like, throw it at the wall, and I was like, I don't want to hurt my walls for one. This thing's like basically a pound,
You could throw it through
and
someone's window, and they'd get scared that they're getting
yeah,
bricked.
genuinely, I think, like, no joke, no sarcasm, I think you could break a window with this. Like, given
Let's
the
try it
weight.
out. Let's do a test. Let's do it. Let's break some windows.
Cybertruck glass. Boom. Oh my god.
I think you could
And
use it as a hammer for nails. Honestly, get a 2x4, get a nail.
you
That'd
probably
be
could.
that'd be such great content for the company. Like you can even use it as a hammer.
There's an app on the phone that you open the
Hammer
hammer app.
mode.
The only concern I have is the buttons on the side are not super secure. Like, I don't know, you probably can't hear
I
it,
hear
but like
no,
they
I can
rattle.
hear a little rattling.
So they don't feel like they're super in there. I'd be worried about a button or something getting dislodged or stuck, and then this phone is going to feel even more useless than it already is.
Well, that's why you use it on the
Um,
back as a hammer, not on the side as a hammer. You gotta
oh,
rethink how you
right
use.
on the cameras.
No, you have to. I think you have to hold it upside down and then use it so that way you get the nice plastic, leathery looking finish on the bottom, textured a bit.
Yeah, it's got
I'm a fan
good
of
amount
this
of
phone.
weight to it.
I like this phone
You
so
are?
far, from what I've heard. It sounds
Okay.
hilarious and amazing.
I need to report on when the battery officially dies.
It's
I
been
think.
it's been 2 weeks. We're at 30%, and I've been using it constantly throughout the day.
That's honestly what it feels like, because I set it up. I signed into all my accounts on it, so all the Chinese spyware has access to all my information, and
Cool.
I've been using the basics of using Twitter, YouTube, checking email, and the brightness is at full. It's not a super bright display.
Have you tried watching YouTube videos on it?
A little bit. The speakers aren't great, even though they're stereo. It's very treble heavy, like the
Okay.
Pixel. I think the iPhone SE has better speakers, honestly. But there's constantly this little thing in settings that tells you. It's kind of cool. I've never seen this on another Android phone, but
Mm-hmm.
it's telling you what your average energy consumption is, kind of like a Tesla, and saying here's like your projected battery life based on current energy consumption.
Pretty much is a Tesla at this
And
point with the size of that battery.
yeah, I think it could charge the car at this point. But right now, it tells me I have 6 days of battery remaining.
My goodness.
6 days and 6 hours.
It measures in
Um,
days.
Yeah, but it's been sitting here for a while, not doing much. So that's probably if I use it for a while, or if I turn on the flashlight, it'll probably go down.
See, this is the answer
Um,
to those that are like, why can't we have phones that used to last like more than a day?
yeah, it's like it is kind of refreshing when all phones are kind of blurring together with glass, somewhat thin rectangle with camera bump.
With maybe
know.
a day's worth of battery or whatever.
Yeah, they're all kind of blurring together, and then there's this one company that wouldn't shut up, that keeps emailing me, please try this phone. I'm like, you know what? I'm reviewing budget Androids now. Here's a company that just wants me to check them out, and they don't expect any script, contract. I was like, okay, even if it sucks, it will be kind of fun to check it out. And yeah, I can admit it's been fun. I showed it to my wife, and she thought it was hilarious.
I think it's on the
But she likes it.
other side of the spectrum. This thing's amazing. I love it. Do you think,
Mike really likes it.
did they say that it's a review unit where you have to return it, or do you get to keep it at the end of the day?
No, I checked in with them to make sure with that, because I said, look, I'm going to be gone soon, so don't send me something if you want it back. And I explicitly stated that. And they were like, no, of course not. Like, why would we send you something that we expect you to send back? So it's a straight up gift,
Cool.
but there's no, I should show you the email chain at some point. It was hilarious because
Yeah.
first of all, they're from China, so their English isn't great. So there's all kinds of hello, dearest.
No,
and-
I get that. I've had experiences where I worked on a project with really big motors for a big drone.
Oh,
and
Okay. Okay.
I had to contact those in China as well with for these big motors to spin giant propellers. And it was
Right.
always it was a challenge trying to get through that language barrier, and it was very interesting with
Uh-huh.
how they structured their emails and probably parsed it through some translator and hoped that it was fine. Where
Mm-hmm.
we might have to do the same, but usually I didn't. I usually just sent them English back, which is very. I mean, to be fair, I don't know what I'm
Very
sending if I
American.
translate it and then send it
That's
to them.
true.
It could mean something else. I could be asking for a cat in the mail, and it's like, why does he want a cat?
Yeah, that's
This
true.
this is
It's
highly
probably what's
strange.
going on with me and them,
Probably.
but I saw typos and stuff.
That's
It
okay.
has
It's a language
gaming
barrier.
mode, but it was spelled GMA-ing. And I was like,
Gamang.
mode. I don't know. But basically, I explained to them, I'm not going to return it if you send it to me. And they were
Sure.
like, we understand. That's fine. And then afterwards, they said, okay, can you post a video about it before June 14th? And I was like, I'm going to be gone by then, like out of the country. And it's going to be Apple season because that's post dub dub. So I told them, I'm going to be busy. I'll probably have to post a video way before June 14th, if at all. Like, don't send it to me when I'm gone. So I just explained to them, like, probably earlier than that. And then they never replied.
Hmm.
I told them this scenario, and then they said nothing. There was just no response for weeks. This was like 3 weeks ago. And I was like, oh, maybe there was some review embargo thing, and they were like, well, we can't breach that, so let's just not send it to them. So I totally forgot about it. I moved on. We had the Final Cut stuff. I'm waiting around trying to track my Amazon package. And then
Sure.
one day I checked the mail. There's this big box in there, and I'm like, I don't think an iPad can fit in that box. What is
It's
this?
a
Like, we
foldable
didn't
iPad
order.
now.
Yeah, they folded it up in the mail. That almost sounds believable. But basically, I was like, we didn't order anything else on Amazon. What is this package? It was completely out of my mind. I thought they had just ghosted me essentially.
Hmm.
And I unbox it and I just see the little Dijou Dijou. I already forgot how to pronounce it. I just want to
Doogee.
say doggy. Doogee, that's it. That's confusing because there's an app on my phone for cloud storage called Daegu, which is different from Doogee. Anyway, I see the logo and I'm like, oh my god, they actually sent it. Like they never sent me tracking info. They never said, okay, sounds good or anything. Like, it's en route. Nothing. They just stopped talking and they just send them the thing. So it was
Hmm.
quite a hilarious surprise, and um, it's refreshing to check out a phone that's so bizarre and different from everything else
Sure.
because we're kind of used to all of this stuff all the time. But this at least is a bit more in the budget market. Than we talk about foldables a lot, which are 2 grand, but this is $500 new, and I'm sure you could buy it secondhand. And it's got a battery capacity that's like 5 times bigger than most smartphone batteries. So
Yeah.
that just kind of puts it in this really weird, bizarre. Honestly, the iOS animations are quite obvious. Like they're just replicating iOS best they can. Like Control Center's the top corner,
Ah,
and
look
then
at that.
Notification Center is here.
Wow.
Um, and the back animations are very smooth. I actually am finding myself, at least in regards to the animations, I prefer this to the Pixel. Like it feels smoother. Maybe
That's
it's just the
amazing.
display, but even with 60 hertz alone, just the back animations and the swipe up to go home and the multitasking, they clearly just copied iOS.
Sure.
But I like iOS.
Yeah.
That's good. So
Nothing wrong with it
thank
then.
you.
That's
A few
amazing.
limitations though. Even though it's an unreleased phone, it doesn't have 5G.
Okay.
Kind of weird. Um, it doesn't. Even though they make phones with wireless charging, this one doesn't have it, which
I
is kind of weird.
understand. It's got a giant battery in it. They probably didn't have room for the inductive charging.
Yeah, it's just bizarre to me that they have other phones that did it. And it's plastic, so they totally could have. But yeah, you're not used to having phones with kind of gimmicky like camping light,
They
things.
could
And
put it on there.
um,
What else would you
The
put back there,
action,
right?
yeah, the action button can be reprogrammed, I've discovered. So if I hold it down, it activates the flashlight.
That's a different
And
flight entirely.
I know it doesn't activate the big one. There's a separate app for that, I guess, because it's
There's an
too
app
bright.
for the flashlight.
Yeah, the camping light app.
Oh
And it
dear
warns you
goodness.
literally every time you open it, it has a pop up that says, do not point towards your eyes. But yeah, it is quite bright.
Oh, that's amazing.
And as far as the camera goes, it's okay. You know, Louis said it's fine. I was a little bit disappointed by a 108 megapixel camera. You think could get a little bit of detail, but um, the infrared thing is actually really cool tech that has existed for decades,
Sure.
but most phones don't have it. So you can go into a completely pitch black room without any flashlight on or anything and still see everything. It's all black and white, but it's very found footage, like horror movie
I was
stuff.
gonna say,
Like you can
this is
just,
how you find the ghosts in your house, Drew.
yeah, no, really. And you can just be in a totally dark environment and see everything and record it, and it has decent, you know, visible quality. It's not 4K or anything. I think it maxes out at 1440p, but I was just like, that's kind of cool tech that our iPhones don't have. You have to turn on the flashlight to get, you know, visual.
Mhm.
And this is just pitch black and you can see everything. There's night mode for video. That's the one thing that's kind of neat. But anyway, fun stuff. I feel like if I drop this on my desk, it's
It's gonna sink to the Earth's core and all that. That's really cool.
yeah.
Honestly, I would love to check
Fun.
that thing out in person because that thing sounds amazing.
Okay.
It sounds like a really cool like travel phone for like
Yeah,
you don't
I should
know
bring it
you're-
with me.
if you're not going to be like near a plug or you don't know if you've got the right plug
Yes.
for the region that you're going to. It's a great reassurance of like no matter
Yes.
where I go, I will have battery life. And
Yeah.
I could just connect to
If
Wi-Fi and do texting
Right.
through that, through a messaging app.
If
or whatever.
anything, it's a power bank.
That
This
too.
can charge your iPhone. My iPhone, I think it could charge like 8 or 9 times over. Like
Mhm.
9 cycles could come out of this thing. And it also happens to have, it's like a battery bank that has Android on it. It's just
That's
kind of
awesome.
funny.
That sounds like a
Yeah.
really good. I mean, I would never buy it outright on my own because
Mhm.
I've already got a battery bank. I've usually
Yeah.
around a plug and all that.
Uh-huh.
So I don't really necessarily need it. But like, if it somehow just plopped on my lap like for free, I'd be like, sure,
You want
I'll
this
keep-
phone back,
I'll
don't
keep
you?
it around.
You want me to give it to you? Happy birthday.
Oh dear lord, I would probably. It would be a very tough call between being like, yes, I will now use this as a nice dedicated charging bank and just in case a messaging phone for like whatever needs.
Yeah.
Or use it as a freaking hammer for like hammering in some nails for fun. Either way,
Right.
it sounds
One nice
great.
perk, it is also a great exercise tool because it's so heavy.
How
It's
much
hard
does
to
that
use
thing
in
weigh?
what
Do you know?
400 grams,
Okay.
which is I think almost a pound. It's like a 0.8 pounds. But what it does after I use this for
Yeah.
several hours, I then switch to my Pixel.
Woo!
And it feels so light. It's basically weightless. I'm like, oh my god.
Well, it's
this
that
thing is so
whole.
thin.
I don't know if you did as a kid, where basically you'd have your friends hold down your arms and you would push up for a while, and then
Yeah.
they would release after like they'd say they'd
Yes.
release, and you wouldn't punch them. But then your arms would always feel like they're floating upward, and it's basically that situation with you and the
Yes.
Doogee and the Pixel.
That's exactly right.
The
Doji. I like that too.
Doogee,
You should be able to
Doogee.
buy it with Dogecoin.
Ooh,
That's
there we
great.
go. Or like put like a Doge
But
sticker
yeah.
on the back.
Very funny phone. Very,
I love
gets always gets a reaction. I showed my sister it the other day too. She was like, "What the heck is that?" It's just I got more reactions from this than a foldable, I'll tell you.
Have you been able to pocket it at all?
Yeah,
Okay.
a little
At least
bit,
in male
but it's-
pants, I'm sure it's pocketable, and for a female, you'd have to probably put it inside like a purse. Oh wow, look at that! It sticks out just a tad, but whatever.
Yeah, it's a "Are you just happy to see me?" type thing. Yeah, it's
What's-
not comfortable.
What's that in your pocket?
I don't think it'll even rest on the. Oh my god, I'm gonna break my MacBook.
I was gonna say you're gonna break everything else but the
Yeah,
phone.
it can't. It's too thick. It won't. It won't even hold it upright. So
Does it have what's its? Do you know what its IP rating is?
yeah,
IPS.
it's like super high. It's IP68 for sure, but it also has IP69K, which most phones do not have. But I looked that up. It's something to do with like pressure washer resistance, like high speed water impact won't hurt it or something.
So I
Like
think at this point,
it's
like I know that you've taken was it the 13 Pro underwater when you went to like Florida
yes,
or Hawaii or something like that.
yeah, yeah,
You could
everywhere.
probably just use this as your dedicated diving phone. And like, yeah, you kind of
Yeah,
take the hit a little bit on the quality, but like, you know for sure wherever you take it, there's going to be zero damage to it, and you're going to get a
yeah, I
decent-ish
think
video
so.
compared to like either a dedicated underwire camera or risking
Hmm.
your iPhone.
Right. Well, I mean, the charge port is usually the biggest concern with going underwater, and this thing has like a built-in cover. Like the charge port isn't visible by
What?
default.
That's
You
amazing.
have to open it up, and then there's a little flap, and then you can see it.
It's a
But
case built into the phone. That's amazing.
right, it's just a
Actually,
natural
that
case.
little thing reminds me of the old Samsung flip phones where like I've broken
Yeah.
up. I don't have them with me, but like they had their own dedicated like charge port cover so that way you
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't get sand or dirt or water into it. But I remember as a kid or a kid, teenager, just pulling the thing off because I just twiddle with it. I'd fidget with it basically. And then I'd
Yeah, yeah,
eventually just like stress it off or something like that. And it's like, okay, well, exposed charge port, whatever. And I think
yeah.
one of them probably went to the wash, so
The
it didn't
only
even matter.
thing left would be the speakers, I guess, but those aren't very good anyway, so I'm not even worried if those break. Who cares?
This sounds like an amazing rugged phone for like
Yeah.
diving or like
It's
if
a shame
you're
the camera sucks so much because all the shots you'll get underwater probably won't look very good.
maybe that's a
But
software thing. Maybe you can try to find a third party software that is better with the
I've heard
camera
of that.
sensors.
There's like a Pixel camera app or something where it uses Google's post processing.
Right.
I don't
Maybe
know.
you should
I
try that
should try
out.
to find the fix. Yeah, I know you got to get going, but
Yeah.
I appreciate you for making the time.
Unlike
And
Randy.
yeah, suck it, Randy. You suck, Randy. And
Ooh, that'd be a fun song. Totally not
yeah,
derivative of anything else.
no, we'll say he inspired us. But thank you all for listening, and we'll catch you next week. Bye bye.
Bye.